ladies and gentlemen, and one of the most creative scorers in the W.
Overall selection in the 2023 NHL Draft, the Chicago Blackhawks are very proud to select from the Regina Pats, the Western Hockey League, Connor
Bedard. What is going on, everybody? This is Mike Hughes, and you're listening to Mike on the Mic and Everything Chicago Sports Related Podcast. We are back. Better than ever, August 22nd, 2023. We got some Chicago Bears news for you guys today. Obviously, the rumors are speculating. Obviously, there's so many different things we can talk about. There's going to be a few topics that we discuss today, all the way from offensive line woes and injuries, injury reports. Some are good, some are bad, somewhere in between. But the big news today is Jonthan Taylor. The Indianapolis Colts just gave Jonthan Taylor the approval to go seek a trade with whatever team may be interested in him. Right now, according to DraftKings, and take that for what it is, it's just DraftKings Sports. We are not sponsored by them, but if they would like to, that's perfectly fine as well. But with that being said, the Chicago Bears now have the second highest odds at landing Jonthan Taylor by some time throughout this season via trade. I think that's one of the more interesting takes. I think that's one of the more likely, especially with the draft capital that the Chicago Bears have. Right now, they are only second to the Miami Dolphins, who have plus 450. It's going to be, or plus 250, pardon me. The Chicago Bears are plus 400. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens. I'm really excited about it. There's a couple people in the comments already talking about, what about Stephon Diggs? I don't see Stephon Diggs being moved. I don't see that trade happening. Right now, we're only focusing on things that are kind of in concrete about what we understand right now and what we base it off of. I have no idea what could potentially happen with Stephon Diggs in the organization as of right now. There's nothing to really base that off of other than the fact that, they're keeping it very tight-knit. So as of right now, we do know it is a confirmation that not only does Jonthan Taylor plan on sitting out if he's not traded and extended, either or. But we also understand that the Indianapolis Colts are completely okay with him going out and seeking a trade, whatever that may be. The rumors going around town is that the Indianapolis Colts are interested in a first-round pick or multiple picks that would kind of equivalent to a first-round pick, which is basically multiple seconds, maybe a second and a third, or maybe even a second and a key player that you might look at. I could see Miami definitely be interested in that. We saw how they were so quick to get guys like Bradley Chubb. They're okay with losing out on draft capital. They are ready to win now. But the Chicago Bears are also in a position to where we have picks out of the ass. We have Carolina's picks. We have our own picks. We have other picks from the Ravens deal and so many others. Like, we're doing it. We're doing it. And I think we're going all in. It's going to be exciting to see what happens. But today we're having the conversation. Is it legitimate to even say that Jonthan Taylor could be in a Chicago Bears uniform by week 1 against the Green Bay Packers in just 2 weeks? I think right now it's a little 50-50. I think it's in the air. I think if the conversation is set in stone in the Colts organization that, hey, we're getting a first round pick, then I don't see Ryan Poles doing that. One, I don't see Ryan Poles even extending him to the caliber that Jonthan Taylor wants to get extended at. You know what I mean? We saw him not even willing to give guys like Roquan Smith that type of money. And I think that's really the reality of the situation is Ryan Poles isn't just giving out handouts. He is not giving out handouts. We still see guys like Chase Claypool who still need to prove themselves. And that's really what it's going to come down to. So I'm excited about it nonetheless. Got a couple comments in here. You think Khalil Herbert will take over? Just got here. And another one says Roschon Johnson, obviously being RB2. Yeah, and I think, I love Khalil. I love what Khalil does for this team. I think he is the heart and soul of the running back room right now. I love the way he reads the ball straight off a rip. I mean, he's not that kind of guy who kind of just catches and sits. You really saw that in David Montgomery. He's one of those guys that, you spend so much time looking for a hole that you actually end up getting minus yards or, tackle for losses is totally different. And I think, you see how that pans out. Having those conversations about Khalil Herbert, a guy who's just a straight engine, I guess is the only way you can really describe him. He's the engine of this offense. He flies right through, just like Justin Fields. These guys, they don't wait. they're ready to go. They're ready to fly right through. Roschon Johnson, we've seen amazing things from him throughout the last couple of weeks against the Titans and the Colts. So I'm excited to see what we could potentially do against a team like Green Bay in week 1. But guys like Jonthan Taylor, you have those conversations like that's the next level. That's a next level. Even though he was banged up last year, even though he was injured, that is another level that we probably won't see out of a guy like Roschon Johnson and Khalil Herbert in the 2023 season. And there's a bunch of other guys that I think we can sit here and say, could potentially be interesting. You got Ebner, you got Foreman, you got a couple other guys in this organization that you could say, are going to have their roles with the running back committee in this offense. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see what that could potentially be. A big part of it is going to be Justin Fields. But if you have a backfield of Justin Fields and Jonthan Taylor, and then obviously you have your front of DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet, Robert Tonyan, and Chase Claypool, maybe even Tyler Scott, however you want to look at that, over Claypool, whatever you want to do, it's going to be a beautiful thing. And I'm really excited to see if that could potentially happen. The fact that we're even having this conversation is just a lot of fun. We had these conversations about Yannick Ngakoue. Why was it so much fun about talking about Yannick Ngakoue? Because it means the Bears are in a win now mode. It means we are finally entering the bright years. We were in the dark ages for so long. We were one of the worst teams in football. We had an 8-8 record for how many years straight, an 8-9 record, whatever it was. You start to have those conversations and you start to say to yourself, when is it going to be our time? Kind of like Khalil Mack, 2018 Khalil Mack. You make a trade for a guy like that because you're ready to win. And that's exactly when you know that it's going to start turning around. We're trying to win games. We're not trying to trade guys away to get assets and then the future is near. We always say the future is coming. Let's ride right now. And I think that's really where we're at with it. And it's going to be exciting. It's going to be a lot of fun, whether or not, obviously we've had these conversations. There's other teams that are going to be interested, Kansas City, Miami, Buffalo. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, I would imagine, I was talking to a few people about it last night. If this was 2 years ago, the Los Angeles Rams would have traded a first-round pick for a guy like Jonthan Taylor. That's just where they were at. Now they don't really have the draft capital for it, but they definitely are one of those teams that would definitely be interested in that if that price comes down a little bit. But with that, the Chicago Bears are definitely in a position right now to where we can trade for a guy like that. It's definitely something that I think would benefit us in the long run. It's definitely something that I think would take us from. I think right now, I think the expectation is a 7 to 10 win team. And I think that kind of puts you in the range of 9 to 12. I really do. And I think it's that kind of impact that Jonthan Taylor brings when he's healthy. We're going to get into it in a little bit, kind of talking about the offensive line. I already see a bunch of comments about that. But again, to make that point, before we get off the Jonthan Taylor conversation, you have those thoughts of what are we going to do if the offensive line isn't healthy? Well, if you have Jonthan Taylor, it definitely does help out a lot, because he's going to make plays out of nothing. And he's going to make something out of nothing. And I think that's kind of the beauty about having a solidified guy who is going to be RB1, is going to give you the bang for his buck. And it's just going to be interesting to see what happens with that. But I would love Jonthan Taylor in a Chicago Bears uniform. I'm not willing to give a first-round pick. If I'm the Chicago Bears, I think you're idiotic if you give a first-round pick for a running back. I know that's the standard right now. I know that's what the front office has to say to be able to get the best they can. Maybe they understand we're not going to get a first, but if we ask for a first, maybe they'll throw in a second. Maybe they'll throw in a third. And that's probably where they're at with it. A low-end second, a low-end third, maybe even a fourth. There's no shot. There's no shot in hell they get a first-round pick for Jonthan Taylor if they do GM of the year, because that is in today's NFL, I mean, that is absolutely uncommon. That is absolutely unheard of and irresponsible from a GM standpoint. We got a lot of mixed comments in here. Talking about I don't want Jonthan Taylor, talking about I do want Jonthan Taylor. Kind of some people who are just indifferent, don't really care. I'm really on either side. I'm not screaming that we need Jonthan Taylor. I'm more of, hey, let's get a guy like Chase Young. Let's get another pass rusher. Let's get another guy on the defensive end. Let's run up the board that way, more so than getting a running back, because I do like guys like Roschon Johnson. And to that point, we also see guys like Justin Fields. You know what I mean? So Justin Fields is going to take a big part of that as well. But it's going to be interesting nonetheless. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Lucas said I just unfollowed. Lucas, that's cool, bro. I'll see you later. But with that being said, I definitely think it's going to be interesting at the end of the day. And, I watch this kid all the time in Wisconsin. He was the only reason I was watching Wisconsin Badger football. But at the end of the day, I think you need to understand the window of a running back. And right now, I mean, it's just not the market for it. There's no market for it. There's no value in paying a running back, especially when you look at the Bears. I mean, let's talk about it. You have guys like Jordan Howard, who comes in here and has 3 1,000-yard seasons in a row just to get replaced by David Montgomery, just to get replaced by Khalil Herbert, and I totally forgot about Tariq Cohen, who was even in that mix. And you have all these different guys that are coming through. Now we're even at a point where it's not even about Khalil Herbert, Tariq Cohen, or anybody else, who, by the way, shout out to Tariq because he just got cleared to start playing football again. I'm really hoping he gets an opportunity somewhere. Maybe it's special teams, maybe it's running back, maybe it's somewhere else, but I'm praying for him coming off the Achilles injury. But now we're at a point where we bring in Foreman. Now we're at a point where it's Roschon Johnson, and now we're talking about Jonathan Taylor. Like, the running back room is always going to be different no matter what, and it's just the era of football that we're currently in. This isn't the 80s. This isn't the 60s or the 40s where, a running back is going to stay with an organization for 5 to 10 years. I mean, it's just not going to happen. I do think at the end of the day, it would definitely benefit the Bears in 2023, 2024, but I don't see how a first-round pick would help us, especially with guys like Marvin Harrison Jr. and Caleb Williams and so many others that are going to be in next year's draft. I don't think it's worth it for a guy like JT. It's just not. But with that being said, getting into it, why it would definitely benefit us having Jonathan Taylor is the injuries that we heard today. I mean, obviously, former second-round pick of 2021, Tevin Jenkins, we already heard the news the other day, will be missing multiple games in the 2023 season with not one, but 2 calf strains in both calves. I don't know if it's the heat. I don't know if it's him training. I don't know what's going on with him. Obviously, he came into this league and had a back surgery right off the bat as a rookie. Last year was kind of lackluster, but it was, he figured it out. He figured it out more than less towards the end. You see him at the guard position rather than a tackle position like we initially thought. But, at the end of the day, I was really looking forward to see what we could potentially see from him, but it seems like injuries are just going to rid the most of his career for at least right now. And it's really unfortunate that we're not going to see what happens with him for a fully healthy season, because it's going to be another year of not knowing if he's fully healthy. It's going to be another year of what's going to happen with Tevin Jenkins. Are we going to extend him? What is the product that you're seeing from him? You haven't seen a full product from him in the season, and I think it's so important to have those because you need to be able to say, is this the franchise guard that I want on this team, paired up with guys like Nate Davis, who, by the way, Nate Davis hasn't been completely healthy either. He just got back on the field with the practice squad. You see guys like Tremaine Edmonds finally just got back up with the practice team. And I love seeing them back at practice. I love seeing them in pads. It's very promising to see guys like Tremaine Edmonds. It's very promising to see guys like Nate Davis and company getting back out there, like I just said. But when you lose guys like Tevin, it's like, damn, bro, like you were regarded as one of the better offensive linemen in that draft. Alex Leatherwood being another one of them, who we also have on this roster, who hasn't really performed as well. You're really starting. I mean, we have both. We have both of them, and neither of them are really performing that well. Tevin, when he's on the field, is relatively solid, but I mean, Alex Leatherwood has just been lost in the sauce, and which is crazy from a 6'6" guy over 330 pounds out of Alabama, won a national championship. You would imagine from the Nick Saban tree that this kid was going to come here and be a premier offensive tackle in the league, but it just hasn't panned out to be that. But you see guys like Tevin Jenkins, and it's so unfortunate. Like I'm not even trying to make a joke here. Like, how the fuck do you have 2 calf strains in both calves at the same time? That is crazy. That's absolutely crazy. And it's only the Chicago Bears. It could only be the Chicago Bears that has these offensive line issues, because that's just what it has been. Today we're still hearing that Lucas Patrick is still recovering from his injury. And then number 1 pick of this year, I mean, let's talk about it. First rounder out of Tennessee, GBO, go Big Orange. You love them. I mean, it's my favorite college football team. Darnell Wright limps off the field with an ankle injury. Matt Eberflus didn't evaluate him or have those conversations with the media yet on how serious that injury is. But it's just another guy. It's just another guy added to the list of injuries. We now have Tevin Jenkins, Lucas Patrick, Nate Davis, and Darnell Wright. So, I mean, it's just an absolute mess. And, no disrespect, because I'm praying for him. I'm knocking on wood. But we know the history with Cody Whitehair as well. So, I mean, you can't afford to lose any more of these guys. Like, we're getting very slim, very fast at the offensive line position, which we upgraded so heavily throughout the offseason. It's going to be frustrating to see this happen for Justin Fields because, you again, we talk about full products. We talk about wanting to see a full season. No excuses, no fuck-ups, nothing negative out of Justin Fields. You want him to be able to go in there, just like Jalen Hurts of last year, go in there, do what you do, and we'll see if you're really the franchise quarterback. Now, if opening day, Tevin Jenkins, Darnell Wright, Lucas Patrick, and Cody Whitehair are all inactive, and Nate Davis, and all I'm looking at is Larry Borum and Carter, and it's like, how can I be mad at Justin Fields about that? If something happens to Darnell Mooney and DJ Moore and Cole Kmet, I can't be mad at Justin Fields about that. But what does frustrate me is you're trying to get something out of these guys. You're also going to see Alex Leatherwood. Yeah, probably. You know what I mean? But, I like Carter a lot more than Leatherwood. I think Carter's been doing a lot of things. I'm very, very interested to see if he makes the roster. I think he should. I think with the injuries right now, he definitely has to. Braxton Jones is another guy as well. I totally forgot about Braxton Jones. But, you have these conversations and you're like, at what point is Justin Fields going to be able to just go out there and ball without these excuses next to him? Without, we're rebuilding. We got a bad offensive line. We have no weapons for him. We have all these things now. We need these guys on the field with them. And I think it's definitely going to be crazy when evaluating what Justin Fields is going to potentially get paid, if we can't protect him and we can't put him in a position to win. Because going into year 4 for 2024, 2025, that's the year we're going to have to, 1, understand if we're picking up your 5th-year option. 2, understand if we're just going to make you one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league, which is what he's probably going to want. And I don't know. We're in a tough spot right now. It's a very tough position. I really don't know what this team's future is going to lie. If this offensive line can't stay healthy, it's going to be very difficult. Somebody said, bro, you look like Sam Howell. I mean, it's crazy, bro. It's crazy. Guys are just naming white guys with fades at this point, saying I look like them. But yeah, a lot of people, believe that you have, you don't know what you have, is what I meant to say. You don't know what you have in Justin Fields. You don't know what you have in the Chicago Bears offense, but we have an idea of what it can be. And we have an idea of who we could potentially become if we pan out and we develop into the way we know they can. I think right now one of the more interesting conversations is, what if we do stay healthy? What are we going to be able to do if we stay healthy? Who's going to be able to mess with us? We could take the North. That's what we've been reiterating. That's what we've been expressing all offseason long. But again, like I said, it's a honeymoon stage. Everybody's in the honeymoon stage right now. Football is back. We're excited. OTAs, rookie camp, mini camp, training camp, preseason football. Honeymoon stage is over. Week 1's in a couple of weeks, and we already got some injuries. So we're back. And it's definitely something that I think you need to be able to have the depth to go into week 1 and say Justin Fields is going to be protected. And when I look at Alex Leatherwood, when I look at Braxton Jones and Larry Borum and obviously Carter and so many others, you can look at that and say, yeah, we have a shot. Lucas Patrick, Cody Whitehair, Nate Davis, we got a shot. But you need guys like Darnell Wright on the field. You need guys like Tevin Jenkins on the field because you drafted them. You have such huge stock in them. And now, obviously, Tevin Jenkins was drafted by Ryan Pace, but at the end of the day, you still deal with that and you still understand that this is our product. This is the Chicago Bears offensive line, and we need it to be the best version of itself for Justin Fields, or we really don't know what we have in Justin Fields, and that's going to be a problem. Say we get the number 1 overall pick, right? Say the offensive line is banged up. Say you don't know what you have. Say, hey, I really don't know what we have in Justin Fields because DJ Moore got hurt and the offensive line got banged up. God forbid, but say it happens. And say the Panthers are the worst team in football, or hey, maybe the Bears are the worst team in football again, and we have the number 1 overall pick. Are you going to give up on Justin Fields and going into year 4, or are you going to draft Caleb Williams? And those are conversations I don't even want to have. Those are conversations we shouldn't be having. And not to, spin it on its head and really over-exaggerate, but you need to be able to say that we did everything we could. And if guys aren't on the field, I can't say we did. If you're not giving Justin Fields those opportunities to be the best version of himself, how can you blame him? Mitchell Trubisky had a top 10 offensive line. Mitchell Trubisky had the number 1 defense in football. Now, part of that was also on Matt Nagy. You had Jordan Howard, Allen Robinson in his prime, Trey Burton, Anthony Miller, Taylor Gabriel. You had a bunch of dogs. And at the end of the day, Mitch couldn't get it done. I'm a Mitch fan. I'm a Mitch supporter. Don't get it twisted. But at the end of the day, you knew what his ceiling was an average or to below average quarterback. Justin Fields, I can't sit here and tell you what that average is. I can't tell you what kind of quarterback he's going to be because we've seen him break NFL records. We've seen him break Michael Vick's single game record for the most rushing yards and the most passing yards in a game combined. Like that's something you need to pay attention to is this kid is showing you things that no other quarterback in Bears history has shown us. Like this kid himself is a superstar. But if we don't give him a chance to win games, it's not going to matter. And that's just what it is at the end of the day. Like, I don't care if he throws 4,000 yards. I don't care if he throws 40 touchdowns. I don't care if you rush 1,000 yards or less. It doesn't matter. Winning football games is going to be everything to this team moving forward. And I appreciate the follow. If you're new here, smack that follow button because we're doing Bears content all week long, all year long. It's going to be a lot of fun. But this is one of those conversations. These are one of those episodes that just isn't as fun. Because you hear these rumors about, oh, we're getting Jonathan Taylor. Oh, we're getting this. Oh, we're getting that. And that's awesome. I love it. Tyler, I appreciate the follow. But, you know, it's definitely something right now to where I don't even want to think about Jonathan Taylor. I don't want to think about Jonathan Taylor because if I'm thinking about Jonathan Taylor, I have to think about who's protecting Jonathan Taylor, who was already banged up last year. Who's protecting Justin Fields? This offensive line with Tevin Jenkins missing multiple weeks with potentially, you know, guys like Darnell Wright missing time, Lucas Patrick missing time, Nate Davis missing time. We need to get this right. We need to figure out what's the best product that we could put on, what's the best front five that we could put out to protect these guys, to be able to put Justin Fields in a position to make these throws, to give Justin Fields the opportunity to just see the fucking field for the first time in his 3-year career. This guy's always got somebody in his face. The second the ball snaps, somebody's in his face. And that's the league. That's the league at the end of the day. There are moments where Justin Fields just needs to be better. That's not a question. You hold the ball too long. You know, sometimes you got to learn to throw it away. Sometimes you got to learn to just pass it off. There's definitely those instances. But I can't say we gave him a fair shake. And it's something that I just want to see from this team, man. I need to see it. I need to see it before the end of the season because it's super frustrating, man. It's super frustrating. We got John Suggs in the comments right now. He said, I honestly give Fields 6 years before looking for a QB. And I think that's the part right now we're having so many problems with is with the Bears draft capital. You have guys like Caleb Williams that are going to be available. Generational type players in college football right now that could potentially be available. And you have to make the conversation and you have to start that conversation of say the Bears have the number 2, number 3 overall pick, even the number 1 overall pick. Say that happens. Okay, at the end of the day, are you drafting a quarterback because you don't believe in Justin Fields from what you've seen so far, or you drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. out of Ohio State, whose dad beat us in the Super Bowl with the Colts? But yeah, I had to throw that in there. But you know, it's definitely something you need to pay attention to. It's definitely something you need to understand. Are we taking an offensive lineman because our offensive lineman can't stay healthy? JP, appreciate the follow. But that's really what it is. That's really what it is. And you got to have those conversations. They're not fun conversations, but you got to have them. You got to have them. But that's all we really got today. There's not a lot of other things we can talk about. There's not a lot of other things we can say. I am Mike Hughes. You are listening to an everything Chicago Bears related podcast. I'm Mike on the Mic. You can find Mike on the Mic on all streaming platforms. Check us out on TikTok. We're live right now. Also live on the All Sports All Plays Network. You can check that out on Apple TV, Roku TV, ASAP Radio, YouTube, Facebook, everywhere else. You can find us on TikTok at theshy.kid. Thank you guys for listening. This is Mike Hughes from Mike on the Mic. Hopefully tomorrow we'll have better Bears news for you. Peace.
Whole sports all plays. Yeah. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. Sport all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. Whole sports all plays.